All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa, yes, my face looks a little weird. My name is Brian McLogan, and welcome to Open Live Q&A. I am going to turn off the screen, but I had to let you guys know that I'm not just hiding my face because I didn't want to show everything, but also I don't think you guys need to be staring at this ugly clunk of mess that I have going on here, but I will let you guys know the story before we get on to the challenge. So hopefully it's not too much of a little bit of a distraction. I'll kind of be looking over here, so it's not my full face, but I wanted to let you guys know that, yes, welcome to the live stream where I'm going to answer your questions and I'm going to talk to you about the challenge that I have going on tonight. Why does my face look like this? Well, that is because I was on a morning bike ride this weekend and I decided to run into a pedestrian crossing sign in the middle of the road and flipped off my bike and had to meet my face with the pavement. And it was not a very fun sight or fun thing to go through, but I am okay, just a little bit banged up. So that is about that is about it all to the story. I wanted to let you guys know on that, but also I didn't want to distract you. So if you guys don't mind, I am going to continue the live stream with that off. So therefore you guys don't have to keep on looking at my beautiful noggin just like it is. But so yeah, I know everybody doesn't like, a little bandage and everything like that. So yeah, I know it was actually pretty cool. I'm actually kind of used to this because when I used to play rugby every weekend and I would just, this is usually how my face would always come and look. Like I'd go into Monday morning, people's like, whoa, what happened to you? And I'm like, yeah, I played a rugby game, but unfortunately I was not playing rugby. I was just riding my bike. So, but yeah, it was definitely something that was scary in the moment. And it wasn't as bad. I didn't have any concussion, kind of symptoms or any, kind of hard fall, but yeah, it definitely makes it look a lot worse now, once the swelling kind of has come up because it was on Saturday. So, now once that kind of kicks in, it makes it definitely look a lot worse than it really was. But hey, I'll take it. I'll take it to move on. I'll just tell my kids that I was in a rugby match this weekend and, so they'll think I'm much tougher than I really am from there. So let's go ahead and get on to the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited to let you guys know about my challenge. I have the link up there below. If you are on my email list, then you got sent this link and I do apologize for the multiple emails once again. Because I had an issue with the link. So if you do have any other problem, typically people, this is a secure site, so therefore make sure you do have the HTTPS. And if you ever had other issues with this direct link, then just go ahead and type it in and you can go ahead and get started on the challenge. So I wanted to kind of let you guys know like why I decided to do this challenge and what exactly are you going to expect from this challenge. So even if you are on my, email list, you will want to sign up for the challenge because it's only people that sign up through this link that will be actually getting the extra emails that are on the challenge. And I came up with this challenge when I started thinking about the 3 steps, students to get better at math. And, I was thinking I tell students what to do, how they can improve upon their math. And yes, I have, some exam study guides and I have checklists and, cheat sheets and all those kind of things to help you with your math. But some of the things that I don't get in with my students, and actually, I always hate going through this. Some of the things that I don't get in with the students is that I feel like I have to talk. I don't know. Maybe I'll just look over from there. But some of the things that, I talk with the students about is that I want them to practice and I want them to be consistent and I want them to reflect on their learning. And also I want them to challenge yourself. So one of my things was I was like, I wonder if I could get people to do, maybe I'll just put my hands like this. Maybe I can get people to do some multiple math questions over and over and over again. And what if I gave them, could they be consistent enough to do the math questions each and every day? And obviously, I know most students are not going to go out on a limb by themselves and do this, but what if I kind of provided them with the questions, therefore they could do? So I do have a little bit of limited capacity, ladies and gentlemen. I was not able to do a challenge for every single grade level. And right now I decided to kind of focus on what I'm currently teaching, which is pre-calculus, as well as algebra 2. And I do hope to kind of create a very similar one for, lower as well as for upper courses. But at this time, that's what they are for. However, I did want to mention to you guys that if you are in a, maybe like an Algebra 1 or a Geometry, or if you're in Calculus or a College Algebra, like you'll still benefit from them. I would just, it's just a lot of problem. It's just, I think doing any kind of math problems and reviewing the content that you're going to want to remember and practice is going to be beneficial. So even if you're not in Pre-Calculus or Algebra 2, I think you will definitely benefit from these live streams and from on there. So So one of the things that we're going to do in this, in the challenge, is to go ahead and practice a problem. So what I'll do is once you sign up, I'll send you a problem each and every day. And then the next day, what I'll do is I will send you actually the solutions to that problem. So once we go ahead and go through a problem, then also you'll get a solution, a video of me working through the problem. So therefore you can reflect and also make sure that you're doing the problem correctly. Now, I'm hoping that some of these problems will be a challenge for you. Some of the problems, we're about 3/4 of the school year for majority of kind of students that maybe started in August or September. So some of these problems might be something that you have covered or maybe you haven't covered. So there'll be a little bit of a challenge. And, they may not be, and maybe that's something that you need to challenge yourself. So another thing I'd also wanted to let you guys know of is another contest that I am not affiliate or directly affiliated with, but also just wanted to also give them a nice plug for kind of students that are looking for a little bit of a challenge. And I believe their challenge is for a little bit lower of the grades than what I am offering. And so I have more details of the 5 math contest in the description below. So if that's something that you are interested in, and I know there's other math contest guys that you guys can definitely, suggest. And if you're affiliated with any of those, Mu Alpha Theta or any other kind of math contest that you'd like to go ahead and, let me know about, then go ahead and submit them on to Discord or reach out to me on Discord. And I'll be more than happy to let you guys know. So anyways, back to the challenge. The challenge works for 30 days. So every single day in the month of March, I will be sending you a question to work on. And it is a different question covering different topics that we are going to have in Pre-Calculus as well as Algebra 2. And then I do want to let you guys know at the end of the chapter, we will have something special for you guys to go ahead and work on. So that's something I wanted to let you guys know about. That's going to be a little bit special. I don't want to give the details out, but obviously once you guys register, you'll hear a little bit more about that and let you guys know. So I'm excited for this because I really do believe if you are working through problems, doing multiple problems each and every day, or at least doing one problem a day, you're going to build up that consistency. And what that's going to do is after we're done with this challenge, hopefully you're going to start preparing for, your upcoming tests and everything like that. That you'll get used to doing math consistently and doing math, on a regular basis. So yes, inside of the course, I do have a Discord as well that we'll be kind of using inside of the challenge. But I do see a lot of you guys that have added in the. See a lot of you guys that have added in the. What am I saying? Add in questions into the chat. And unfortunately, guys, I got quite a bit of questions for them there for this week. So I'm not sure how many questions I'll be able to get to tonight as far as the during the live stream. All the questions that I'm going to be covering tonight have been pre-submitted. So if you would like to pre-submit a question for me to cover on a live stream, then in this description, I do have a Google form where you can go ahead and pre-submit your questions. Now, again, obviously, guys, I'm not able to get to everybody's question. So if you, actually, know what I do? I know what I'll do. So if you do have a question that you would like for me to cover, there we go. I'll just make myself nice and smaller. If you do have a question that you would like for me to cover, then go ahead and use the Google form and you can go ahead and submit your questions, as well as I also have a Discord server that you guys can go ahead and submit questions in there, as well as help other students out in their server. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. So I see Emily and Hayden. I got some questions, and we got Emily and Carl. Finally, equal I see you guys a lot of questions, and everybody loves bringing in questions again after I've gone live. Just remember, guys, you can always submit your questions using that Google form as well as the Discord server. So yes, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys appreciate me bringing down my face a little bit. I don't know why I didn't think about that again. I like teaching to the camera. And it was so weird turning off mic, because I feel like I kind of like go off of, teaching and that way. So I liked having that. I like seeing my face from there, but I also know my face is very mangled. So I didn't want to go. So anyways, guys, if you are interested in joining my 30-day challenge, it does not start until March 1st. So at March 1st, I will send you a problem at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you can complete the problem at any time you want to. But I do want to build up that training for you guys. I do want you to get that consistency, because I truly believe if you can complete my challenge, then you can continue that type of idea, that type of structure and consistency with your own classes. And by doing that, that's going to help you prepare, because I know many of you guys have your exams coming up. You have these big tests coming up. And I think one of the things that hurts a lot of students is they try to memorize or work through all the problems at the end. And it's kind of like this simple thing. If you want to improve upon, for instance, here's a great example. If you want to improve the number of push-ups you do, right? You're not going to want to do let's say I can do 20 push-ups right now. That's the maximum I can do without stopping. Well, if I wanted to improve upon that, I'm in 30 days. I'm not going to wait till the end of 30 days and then just do 100 push-ups. No, like every day I'm going to try to do like 10 push-ups, right? And if you just keep on like doing as many push-ups as you can, like each and every day, that consistency is going to build that strength. But you're not going to be able to do, let's say you want to do 300 push-ups. You're going to do 300 push-ups. If you do, 10 a day, that's going to be much better and build up your strength rather than trying to do 300 at the end. Right? So spread out that work. This has been a crazy school year. And there's so much like stress and other things that you guys have going on and other courses and classes and everything else. Like, the best advice I can give you right now as far as preparing for these exams is get started now. So that's why I want to do this exam. I was thinking about doing this exam or this challenge, after like in March or after March, like in April and May. But I'm like, no, that's when students are studying for the exams. Like they have their own classes, that I want them to use their own teachers, whatever their own teacher is giving them to help out. So that's why I kind of chose this for this month to do this challenge. And I hope you guys can join me. So again, it's at brianmclogan.com/challenge. I also put the link in the description down below for you guys to go ahead and join in. Social test going on. All right. So any tips on how to answer application level questions? I'm not sure. I did get a lot of questions. D. Dorf, hey, how are you? I did get a lot of different questions. A lot of questions from that I'm not going to really be able to go through because it's just, I don't know how long you guys think I was going to be able to do on my live streams tonight, but I have school tomorrow. So this live stream is going to have to cut off. So to make sure I could get this live stream done, some of these questions, would take me a very, very long time to go ahead and complete. All right. Do you have a real name and can I use this account for my email? Oh, do I have to use my real name and can I use this account for my email for the challenge? Yeah. I mean, Blue Out, you can be totally anonymous if you want to. That's perfectly fine with me. There are some opportunities that I will have inside the challenge as far as like some private tutoring and stuff like that. So if that's something you're interested in, being anonymous wouldn't really help you. But yeah, I mean, if you just want to join the challenge and you don't feel like using your other, you are going to have to use an email where you're going to receive email. I mean, if you just want to use a fake account, I mean, you're not going to get the questions. So you got to make sure you have an email account that you use. But yeah, it's, I'm not looking into obtaining any other personal information from anybody, just an email account to send them and a name to address you. And that's basically about it. All right. Through the Google form, are you going to answer any questions? I don't know. I believe, Hayden, I did receive one of your questions. Typically I only take in one question per person. So if I see multiple questions, I just kind of pick one. I think there were 16 of them. So you can see, I think I already had over like 30 questions that were submitted to me. So I try to just complete at least one that I can address that's kind of like as quickly or whatever to the point that I possibly can. And so Inkbox said, will you go from algebra to pre-calculus onwards from now on, or will you go back to pre-algebra? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to, I mean, I think I have I basically have Algebra 1 and Geometry built out. I just didn't have the time to to get those built out in this time. So I would like to go ahead and do that, and then also do a calculus one, just kind of cover like the bases in high school at least, and then I'll kind of expand from there. But I think for getting the Algebra 1 and up to calculus, kind of those bases kind of covered, and then we'll kind of address from there. What grade level is number 1? I am not sure. Oh, I don't know. I teach this in Algebra 2, so I teach problems similar to this one in Algebra 2. That's actually not a negative. That's just a, let's see. Oh, I guess I wrote on that. So either way, okay. All right. So, all right. Sir, call me Mohammed. All right. D-Dorf, I gotcha. So I don't know why I called you back D-Dorf when you said, but Mohammed, very nice to have you. Thank you so much for coming in. If you see this comment, I'm having trouble with my phone, and I see people can see this. I can see you, Michael Keith. Thank you for joining in. And Perigar, hello, Abdi. Oh, all right, guys, let's go ahead and get going on the questions because we have quite a bit. So again, if you are interested in joining in the challenge, 30 questions, 30 days. Well, actually 31 days, but we're not, just round. But 30 questions, all of March, send you a question. You go ahead and complete it. Want to see if you guys can do one question every single day. Keeping it simple, just one question every single day. All you guys, it's completely free. And there is some opportunities for you guys to earn some private tutoring with me, as well as an extra contest at the end that you guys will hear a little bit more as well. That has a little extra bonuses for you guys. So if you are interested in learning more about the challenge or to go ahead and join in, then go to the link bradmclogan.com/challenge. And then also, if you are interested in doing some math competitions and you are in the grades below like 6th through 8th, and you would like to go ahead and check out the FEE math contest, then go ahead and take a look at that. I have the all those links and more information down in the description. And then also, if you came here because you have some math questions and you want those to get answered, then please make sure you go ahead and take a look at my Google form. It is also in the description, as well as my Discord server where you guys can submit questions now and get help. We have people that are dedicated to helping you guys out with your questions. But again, it's not just a Discord server where you submit questions and people help you out. It really is a community where, post questions, help other people out with questions. It's much more of a give and take rather than, people just assigned to answer your questions. So, go in there, help each other out with your questions. If you have questions in Algebra 2, then help students out in Algebra 1, right? So I think the more that you can help other students out, the more you will see that your questions will get helped out. That's just the kind of the karma playing out. Do we win money or something if we win other than tutoring from you, which is great as well. There is an opportunity. I don't have all the details going in, so I don't really want to talk too much about it, but there is an opportunity for, as far as winning some money. I don't want to get too much into it because, like I said, I don't have all the details done, but it is related to finishing the challenge. Yes. But so the challenge is, you're not actually going to be, the main idea of the challenge that I wanted students to do was just to work through the problems. I think the hardest thing about the challenge is actually doing them consistently every single day. So it's not so much about doing the problems correctly. I'm not really worried about that. I want you to be consistent by doing the problems each and every day. So that's my main idea for the challenge is like, hey, can you every day do a math problem? And I think for some, every day open up that email and get the math problem done. Then there'll be, that's the kind of main challenge. And the next part of it is where there will be some money will be, yes, that'll be attached to actually getting the problems correct. So there'll be another kind of challenge at the end, but that again, that comes into for those that finish the challenge. So there's kind of like a little two-part system from there. And then also, yeah, the opportunity to get some tutoring with myself. All right. Do you have video on logs? I have a ton of video on logs. I have a ton of video on a lot of things. I have heard of Ingenuity, and I do not do math problems on it, though. All right. Muhammad, I will go ahead and get started. I'm not sure if you submitted a question, though. But let's go ahead and get going from on there, because we do have quite a bit of questions. But some of these questions I'm not going to be able to cover, guys, because they would just take a really, really long time to go ahead and do. So, and I don't have all the time. So on the first question, what you're going to want to do is when you, and again, this is not a negative, okay? But Mohammed, I'm not sure if I have your question, so let me know if I did though. So on this example, the first thing we're going to want to do is isolate the square roots. Okay, so if we want to solve square root functions, the first thing you're going to want to do is isolate this. So we have 16 equals a 4 square root of x plus 2x. Okay, then we'll subtract a 2x. All right, Now I'm going to put this over here. So we have a, why is it doing that? 16 minus 2x is equal to a 4 square root of x. Okay, so now is when everything gets kind of fun. Now, now what we're going to want to do is square both sides. That's how we're going to go ahead and get rid of the square roots. So what we have here is we have a 16 times 16, which is a 256. A 16 times negative 2, which is going to be a negative 32. So that's going to be a negative 64x. And then that's going to be a positive 4x squared. And then this is going to equal a 16x. Oh, actually, I did type that in wrong. I'd have to go and check. But either way, I'm not going to go and solve this. I'm going to go and check to see if it had a simple problem. And then, but yeah, I didn't get it back from that case. So now we see that at least we have a quadratic. There's a couple points that I want to do, though. I'm not going to solve these bigger numbers. So I just have too much to go on. But you are going to want to set equal to 0. So I'll subtract the 16x to both sides. All right, so therefore I'm going to have the equation 4x squared, let's do 70, so that's going to be negative 80x plus a 256 equals 0. So you can look into factoring, but these are kind of big numbers, so you might want to look into just using the quadratic formula. The only thing I can recommend is, we took a square root function, x, right, which has a maximum number of zeros of 1, and then we just created a quadratic equation, which has a maximum number, the maximum number of zeros is 2. So you got to be careful and look out for any extraneous solutions. So when you solve this quadratic, if you get 2 solutions, which this looks like that's going to produce, make sure you plug them back into the original equation to make sure that you check for extraneous solutions, okay? So check for extraneous solutions. So again, how do you do that? You find the answers and plug them back into the original equation and make sure they satisfy that. All right, the next question is a system of 3 equations, and this is from Cass. So I'm not sure, I'm assuming this was your 4, but I didn't really know. Either way, this is definitely like a kind of a, definitely like a more detailed problem. I would not, like, you could do this algebraically, but I'd probably not recommend it. So I would either, look into using Gaussian elimination, or using technology like a graphing calculator with matrices. That would be the fastest way that I would go ahead and do this problem. If you are going to do it with the, if you are going to use this with technology, what you'd want to do is, if you're going to, or algebraically, what I would do is I would eliminate the z's for both these equations. So what you can do is you can multiply the top 2 equations and the bottom 2 equations. So I'll at least eliminate for you. So you get rid of the z. And then what I'll do is from there, you can go ahead and, from there, what you can do is then to solve for x's and y's. Okay. So what I would do here is you can add these first 2 equations, but you don't want to add the 2 equations like this. You want to multiply by 2 on this top equation. So I'll show you what happens when you multiply by 2x plus 3y minus z equals negative 5. Okay, so therefore you get a 4x plus 6y minus 2z equals negative 10. Make sure you multiply the 2 times everything. Okay, and then I'd add it to that middle equation. So when you do that, you get an x minus 4y plus 2z equals 21. So what I want you to see is what happens here. When I add these 2 equations up, right, I get this equation over here. I get a 5x plus 2y. The z's go to 0, and then that's going to equal 11. All right. Now let's do the same thing, but now let's go and multiply the top equation by negative 3. Now, why would I multiply by negative 3? Well, watch. Negative 2x plus 3y minus z equals negative 5. Now, the reason, again, why I'm multiplying here, let's put that answer. Let me see. Let's just put it down a little bit farther. Okay. There's that answer. Okay, so when I do this, I now get a negative 6x minus 9y plus 3z equals a positive 15. And if I add that to my bottom equation, equation number 3, because here's like equation 1, equation 2, equation 3. Okay, so if I add that to equation number 3, so I get a 5x plus 2y minus 3z, and I'm assuming this is a negative 4. I don't want to complete the whole problem if that's not. And then when you add those two together, what you're going to get is a negative x minus 7y. Actually, let's do this. 5x plus 2y equals 11. And then equals a positive 11. I throw that in there. So now you have a negative x minus 7y equals 11. Okay, so now what I want you to understand is I took my systems of 3 equations, and by combining the two equations together, 1 and 2 and 1 and 3, I have now created a system of 2 equations with x and y. So now you're going to want to do this the way you typically would do algebraically. And then once you find x and find y, you plug them into one of these equations to find z. So it's a long problem. It would take a while, but that's exactly what you want to do. And for number 3, you're just doing the same process. This is just not a fun problem, though. You have to simplify it first. But yeah, I don't have time to simplify all of that problem. That is just a lot of algebra. Yeah, so I'm doing, Blue Again, I am doing the algebra. I am doing systems of elimination. And actually, let me actually show you guys what I'm doing. I'm doing 2. So what I did was I multiplied 2 times equation 1. And then I added it to equation 2, okay? And then over here, what I did is I took negative 3 times equation 1, and then I added it to equation 3, right? So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm using multiples to, and actually it's funny because I'm not sure, Blue, if you asked for this question or not. Because there's another question about substitution or elimination. But yeah, that's basically you're using multipliers to multiply 2 by equation 1 and then adding that to equation 2. And then here I'm multiplying by negative 3. And the reason why I chose negative 3 is, again, because I want z to have the same coefficient, 1 positive, 1 negative, right? And that happens in both those equations. All right. So hopefully on this one, the only problem with this one is just it's going to be, you have to simplify it first. Okay, but it's the exact same process that you'd want to apply x, y's, and z's. All right, so let's go and take a look at the limit by Kim. So this one is the general limit at x equals 1. So basically what we need to do when we're finding the general limit is we need to see, well, what is the graph approaching from left and from right? So what we want to know is the left-hand limit as well as the right-hand limit. So what I'm going to do is actually kind of look at what's going on for both of these, okay? So when x is equal to 1, we have 2x. So you plug 1 in for this and you're going to get 2. So at 1, we're at 2, okay? And that is defined. Now these are not defined, all right? So we want to see, well, are these going to equal 2 or not? Like what would these graphs look like? This is a linear line, right? Or a linear line. That graph looks something like that, right? So at x plus 3, we plug in 1, you'd get 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be an open circle. And 1, 2, 3. X equals 3. Oh, yeah. So that would be from there. But that graph looks something like that. Oh, that's x is less than 1. So that graph looks like that. And then over here, which I can already see that the limit does not exist, we'd have a 5x minus 1. And this is for x values that are greater than 1. Now, again, this graph is going to look like what's been shifted 5 1/5. So that'd be 1/5 to the right. But that's going to be the square root graph. Now, this one, when you plug in 1, you have 5 times 1 is 5 minus 4. So that's going to be 2. So that's going to be a open circle from there. But it looks like that. Okay, so it's going to be that square root curve. Maybe do a better square root curve. No, well, either way. But again, for the general limit, it has to approach the same value from the left as well as from the right. And you can see from the left, this graph is approaching 4. And from the right, this graph is approaching 2. So since they don't approach the number 1 from the same value, they don't approach the same value, then this limit does not exist. Okay. Yes, I have a little bit more than a scratch. All right. Gabrielle asked, find these side lengths. And she was asking, how do you know the side lengths from a 30, 60, 90 triangle? Well, this is called a special right triangle. And the cool thing about a special right triangle is, yeah, you already know all the relationships of these side lengths. And I'm not going to go into all of them. I'll just kind of go through a quick little review. So we have the hypotenuse, right? We have a short and hypotenuse, then we have 2 legs. So we have the short leg and the long leg. So let's call the short leg x. Now again, it can be any number. Let's, even if it was 5, whatever. So if this is x, then the hypotenuse is 2x. And then the short leg to long leg is going to be x square root of 3. And again, you can confirm my results using the Pythagorean theorem if you want to. But that is how they are related to each other. So the nice thing is, like, if this was 5, then this would be 10, and this would be 5 square root of 3. Like, that works for all 30, 60, 90 triangles. They all have this exact same relationship for their angles. So that's just kind of the nice thing about them. And obviously you can, if you are, that's supposed to be a 10, not a 20. But again, like this, from here to here, you're multiplying by 2, or from here to here, you're dividing by 2. So it can kind of go back and forth from there. All right, so let's go and take a look at question number 6. So again, Alvin, thank you so much for bringing me this awesome question. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get through this. This is just a lot. I think you were looking for like the surface area. So I think the main thing you need to do though, for a problem like this, I wanted to give you the best thing you're going to want to do is when you're identifying the surface area, so hopefully you understand the, surface area of a cone, or I'm sorry, of a cylinder, right? And then just break up everything, do 3 parts, right? So we have this one, we have that one, and then we have the big circle, or the big half circle. And so all I want you to understand is just do them separately. Do all the math calculations separately when you are working from this. And that's really kind of the best advice I can really give you for that. We know that the area of a circle, right? Area is going to equal pi r squared, right? And then if you're going to unravel like this, then you know that the diameter is going to be 2 pi r, right? And that's going to be the distance around, which is your d. Okay, so that's basically all you're going to need to know. And then really, you can see that these are half circles. So then just take your calculations and divide by 2. So again, this is a very detailed problem. Your height is equal to 35. There's a lot of calculations. I'm not going to have time to work through them, but that's at least, hopefully that can get you set up. But I cannot stress this enough. Don't try to do break everything out, break all the calculations out from here, and then work them out from there. Okay. And Abraham asked for question number 7. Yeah, as far as question number 6, I've never had to plot this before. I would just be using graphing technology. The only thing I was thinking about, which would be beneficial, and again, roughly e raised to the power, you can always just get a good estimate of what those values would be. My only thing that I'm thinking is what's going to be the biggest difficulty is graphing the, cosine. And so if you think about, or at least understanding what cosine is going to give you. So if you think about the cosine graph, right? And think about if you think about 2 pi, right? Well, basically you're going to want to be dealing with those angles that are going to be giving you either a 1 or a -1. So, because you can think about 2 pi is 100 pi is going to be coterminal with 2 pi. So what I would do is just keep on using values for t. Just use values for t as 1 or 2, or 1, not 2. Could you do it as the 200? Yeah, I guess you could be able to do it in the 2. But using values for t that are just going to be easy, make sure that you can evaluate them for cosine as far as those coterminal angles. But yeah, not something I would create. I'd just create your table of values and go ahead and evaluate. But this is not something that I would have needed to do. Typically, I just rely on my graphing technology. But I think there's best thing is making sure that you're using values for t that you can evaluate the cosine for rather easily, because again, that's going to be coterminal, right? You're going to be finding those coterminal angles. So that's going to be the most difficult. As far as raising e to that power, again, using graphing technology, or you can just, for those values of t, you can at least get a rough estimate of what that value should be. So hopefully, so override table and use values of t so you can evaluate the cosine of 100 pi t. Okay, so that's why I just make sure you're I'd recommend using the integers. I mean, you could use like fractions, but as far as like graphing them, I think that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to do that, as well as your e to the t. All right. But yeah, I to be honest with you, I don't have much experience with plotting a graph like that, or at least I do not recall. Haven't do it in my classes. We typically would be using graphing technology for there. All right. Question number 8 says different ways you could use elimination, multiply, add. Yeah, I think this is Enoch George, also has a YouTube channel. But I think as far as using the elimination, like I did 2 examples up here, right, guys? Let's see. Right? So here I multiply by 2, and here I multiply by -3. Now, why did I multiply by 2 and multiply by -3? Well, here I wanted to see how this was a negative z and that was a positive. So I wanted them to have the same coefficient, one positive, one negative. So therefore I could add them. All right. So when they just don't have the same coefficient, but one's positive, one negative, then just multiply by a scalar so that they're going to be the same coefficient. However, if you compare the coefficient of z to the third equation, notice how they're both negative. So to get them to be the same, I multiplied by a -3 because I wanted it to be a 3, but I didn't want it to be a -3. I wanted it to be a positive 3 because, again, I prefer to add to equations rather than subtract. So what I would recommend is going to, I'd recommend the same coefficient and one positive, one negative. Okay, so make sure one positive, one negative, and then add them. Okay, and you're going to get to this. Sometimes you need to multiply one equation by a number. Sometimes you need to multiply 2 equations by a scalar. So, so that's basically, yeah, why you would multiply and then add. So I'm not really sure what else color questions you had without looking at an equation. But hopefully that was kind of helpful, at least from that previous example. All right, the next example is talking about, here's another splat. It represents the equation 5x plus 2/3 equals 13. Oh, and they had like some weird questions. The student was like understand like, what do you do from here? And this is a great question because a lot of students would be, even my students would be confused. Like, I don't know what to do here. Fractions, I can't do fractions. And the main thing is, guys, like, yeah, get rid of your fractions. Multiply everything by 3. So then you have a 15x plus 2 equals 13. So that'd be 26 equals 39. And there you go. So now you have this. Now you have 15x equals 37. Right? And divide by 15, divide by 15. X equals a 37 over 15. And there you go. So yeah, my main idea here is when you have questions like this or you have multiple ones, that you just go ahead and when you have multiple questions like this, that you go ahead and get rid of the fractions first, okay? All right, Miguel was asking for a question, h, the inverse of h. So remember when we're doing the inverse, the first thing we're going to want to do is rewrite h of x with y. You don't have to do this, but it just helps with the steps. So we have 4 divided by x minus 2 minus 1. All right, and now basically what we're going to do is solve for x. I'm sorry. Now we're going to flip the variables, right? So x equals 4 divided by y minus 2 minus 1. And now we're going to solve for y. So when we want to solve for y in the denominator, first thing we're going to want to do is isolate the denominator, or isolate your fraction. So I'm going to add a 1 to the other side. So I have x plus 1 equals a 4 divided by a y minus 2. To get the y off the denominator, I need to multiply it on both sides. Okay, and therefore I'll have a y minus 2 times a x plus 1 is equal to 4, right? Well, if I just want to solve for y, I'll divide by an x plus 1. Right, you don't need to distribute that through, and you get a y minus 2 equals 4 over x plus 1. And then let's add the 2 to both sides. And again, I'm sorry, guys, my work is going horizontal instead of vertical, which is not preferred as a math teacher, but it's just kind of where I'm at. So therefore, I'm going to have h inverse of x is equal to 4 over x plus 1 plus 2. And that'd be the inverse. All right, Gabriel, another Gabriel, and maybe the same one. I don't know. They're definitely spread out apart, so I didn't spend the time looking to see from there. But this is another trigonometry question. Actually, the other Gabriel didn't ask another trigonometry question, so I don't see these are related. But I'm not going to be able to. Typically, guys, a lot of times I do not even have time to go through these word problems, all right? And I'm not going to be able to solve this one. There's just too much time for me to get through this. But I do want to at least get it set up for you, Gabriel. All right. So this is a trigonometry word problem, and it says, at a recent race, a television news team tracked 2 sailboats from a helicopter 8 meters above the water. Okay, so what we're going to do is draw water, and we'll say, all right, here's a helicopter. So we'll say, all right, that's going to be 800, right, meters. Then the team observed sailboats on the left and the right sides of the helicopter at angles of depression of 58 degrees and 36 degrees. Okay, so we could say angles of depression means from a horizontal. So we'll say that's going to be 58, and that's going to be 36 degrees. Determine the distance between the 2 boats. Okay, so we're looking for this distance. Okay, a couple different ways we could do this. I'm not sure what math you are in. I'm assuming you are in a trigonometry class, so therefore you could use the law of cosines. That's what I would probably tell my students to go ahead and do. Actually, we don't have any side lengths, do we? Wait a minute. We don't need the side lengths. We don't need... If I had that side, no, yeah, I wouldn't need to do those 2 sides, that angle, to find the third side. Okay, yeah, so never mind. So we won't want to use the law of cosines. What we'll need to do is create 2 different right triangles. So basically what we have here is we're going to want to create a right triangle. Now, the cool thing about having this here is if that's 58, that means that's 58. If this is 36, this is 36. And the reason why is because the water and this horizontal are parallel lines, right? So therefore, we have 2 right triangles. Okay, and what you're basically going to do here, okay, and then you have the 800. Yeah, that's going to work. So basically, we have 2 right triangles, 800, and this is going to be 58. And then you're going to want to find, distance 1. And then we have the other triangle, which is going to be 800. And this would be 36, and we'll call this distance 2. So let me just go ahead and set up the equation, then I'll hope that you can go ahead and solve from there. So we have opposite over adjacent, so I could say the tangent of 58 degrees equals 800 over d1. And then over here, I would have the tangent of 36 degrees equals 800 over d2. Okay, and then basically the distance between them is going to be d1 plus d2. So hopefully that explanation kind of helps. EBK, this is not pre-recorded. This is live. I'll do my best. All right. Well, thank you very much, Luna. I just got your message, and I think, does he take questions, requests from chat? Sometimes, Nicholas, I do, but at this moment, I am kind of full. These are all questions that have been pre-submitted to me using my Google form, which is in the description. All right, for the next question is brought to you by Addie, and this one's just simplifying. So you can see here, we have some parentheses, and so we're going to want to obviously distribute anything that's outside of our parentheses inside the parentheses. Now, sometimes this negative kind of gets confusing. So you could always like treat this as like a plus a negative 1, right? Because wouldn't you agree that like 5 minus 1 is the same thing as 5 plus a negative 1, right? It's the same thing. So rather than treating this as a subtraction, I like to just rewrite this as a addition problem by changing it to plus a negative. So when I distribute this, I get a 6k minus 4, and that's going to be a plus, let's see here, that's a negative 5k. Let's see, plus 6 minus 3k minus 5. All right, and now we can just see, now I can just combine my like terms. So sometimes it might be helpful just to reorganize them, like put them next to each other. Plus 6 minus 5. All right, and therefore that's going to be k, so that'd be a negative 2k. And then here we'd have a 2 minus 5, so that'd be a minus 3. And voila. So now we have another one where some variables outside of our parentheses, but now we're looking to solve. All right, so in this case, again, we're just going to do distributive property. And therefore we have a negative 20x plus 10 equals a negative 19x minus 19. Now it's important when we're solving an equation, we have variables on both sides. We got to get the variable to the same side. So the first thing we're going to want to do is multiply a x on both sides. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to want to do it that way. I'm going to want to get it, I like to get, so my variable is positive. So I'm going to add a 20x to both sides. Therefore, I get 10 equals a x minus 19. And now now it's just a one-step equation. Get rid of the 19 to the other side, and I get a 29 is equal to x. All right, get from the chat. Question number 14 says the perimeter of a rectangle is 60 feet. The length of the rectangle is 20 feet. What is the width of the rectangle? Okay, so they give you the perimeter. Sometimes it might be helpful just to like sketch a graph. Okay, so remember the perimeter is the distance around, right? So let's just call, what do they give us? The length. Okay, so let's just call, here's the length, here's the width. So I want you to understand we have the width here and length, right? So if this is 20 feet, we're going to have two of them, right? So we could say the perimeter, which is 60 feet. So perimeter equals 2L plus 2W. So we know the perimeter is 60, and they say the length is 20. So that equals 2 times 20, and then plus 2W. So all we got to do is find the width, right? So therefore 60 equals 40 plus 2W. That's 60. So we'll subtract. And sorry, I got to go horizontal again. Oh, and this is from Laurelin. And therefore that's 20 equals 2W. So divide by 2, divide by 2. And that's 10 equals W. And there you go. The next question is from Ermi, asking me much. Oh, I just got a question from Danny. Mr. McGlynn, can you do some special products with polynomials and problems? Yes, I can, but I have a complete list of questions that have been submitted for this week. So I apologize, guys. I don't have any open questions for this chat. A lot of times I like to take a break and, kind of take questions from the chat. But unfortunately, guys, tonight is not one of those nights because I still have, I think, only 2 more questions to go through. But yeah, then it's 10 o'clock and I got school tomorrow. So I don't have a ton of time to be able to be taking any more extra questions. But remember, you can always go ahead and submit your questions into me using the Google form down below. As well, guys, is I have a Discord server that you guys can post questions as well as help other students with their questions. That is in the description as well. All right, so let's go and take a look at this one. The 3x minus 2, or the absolute value of 3x minus 2 is equal to the absolute value of 3x minus 7. Now remember, when we have the absolute value, we're looking at 2 conditions, right? We're looking at the condition when it's positive as well as when it is negative. So first thing you're going to want to do is just look at 2 cases. Case number 1 and then case number 2. So case number 1 is the easy one. That's just when everything is positive. 3x minus 2 is equal to a 3x minus 7. Okay. The case number 2 is going to be when one of them is negative. Well, you might be like, well, what about when both of them are negative? Well, if both of them are negative, that's the same thing. Like if you negate both of them, that's like Well, them both being positive. So you just need to make one of them negative. And you might say, well, what about if I made the other one negative? It doesn't matter because you can multiply by a negative on the other side. Like just pick a side to be negative. All right. So because again, like my point that I'm trying to make here is 3x minus 7. Like you might say, oh, well, let's make this negative. Okay, well, then what if you're like, well, I want to make this negative? Then fine. Divide by -1, make that negative. Like it doesn't matter which side you pick. Just pick one to be negative. All right, now on this first side, when we go ahead and use our solving, first thing we're going to do is get the variables to the same side, right? When you do that, you get a -2 equals -7, which is not true, right? So there's no solution. This does not work. Over here, you get a -3x plus 2 equals a 3x minus 7. So now when I go ahead and solve, I add a 6x. What am I getting at? I'm doing my math in my head. Here you're going to add a 3x to both sides. And you get a 2 equals a 6x minus 7 plus 7 plus 7, 9 equals 6x. Divide by 6, divide by 6. X equals 3/2. Stephen, I do have plenty of videos on vector subtraction. Yes. Question number 16, use composition of functions to determine f of x and g of x are inverse functions. So composition of functions. If we're going to prove that they're inverses of each other, we could say the f of g of x is equal to x, which is equal to g of f of x, right? These are going to be, you're going to get that identity element. So basically all we simply need to do is plug one function into the other function. So f of g of x, that's going to look like this. That's going to be the g of x function into the f of x function. So that's going to look like 2 square root, and instead of the x, I'm going to plug in the g of x function. So that's going to be a x plus 3 quantity squared divided by 2 minus 3. Yes. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, crap. I'm sorry. No, there you go. My parentheses were off. Okay. That looks like that. Minus 3. And then that's supposed to equal, now here we're going to plug the f of x function into the g of x function. So that's going to look like this. So that's going to be a parentheses 2 square root of x minus 3 plus 3 divided by 2 all the square root. Okay, so let's go and see what is happening times all of this stuff. And that's a 2. It's not a square root. It's not the index. Okay, so what happens when you take the square root and something squared? Well, those undo each other, right? And then you're going to be left with a 2 times an x plus 3 divided by 2. Well, now those divide out, and now you're left with an x plus 3 minus 3. Those divide out, so therefore you're left with an x. Okay, now over here, let's see here. Before we can square, working on the inside, the -3 and the +3, those divide out, or those are going to subtract. And then we're left with a 2 square root of x divided by 2 squared. Well, those divide out, and now we're left with a square root of x squared, which is equal to x. So you can see how my math is horribly written. I ran out of space, so I do apologize for that. Maybe let's show this work over here, because I don't want to get like you guys all confused. There you go. But you guys can see how they both get this identity element x, and all you're simply doing is just plugging one function into another function. All right. Yes, Brady. Yes, I'm done my math. Awesome. All right, and then the last question here for this was the total employment for sheet metal workers in 2016 is projected to be 201,000. If this is a 6.3% increase from 2006, approximately what was the total employment in 2006? So we don't know what 2006 was. So let's let x equal the employment in 2006. Okay. So if I have if I want to find a 6.3% increase from the employment, I would say 1.063, right? Because if I did 1, that'd be a 100% increase. Or 1, that'd be exact same. So if I want to find a 6.3% increase, I do 1.63 times x, and that needs to equal 201,000. So now I just want to figure out, well, what was x? What was this original amount? So I'm just going to divide by a 1.063. Okay, and I'm not sure what that equals. So 201.23 divided by 1.063. And when I do that, I get 189,087.48. And what is this? Employment for sheet metal workers? Okay, so obviously you're not going to have 0.48 sheet metal workers, but let's just verify this. Let's just multiply this answer times 1.063 to make sure it works. And yes, it does. Okay, so that answer does verify. We'll probably just want to round that down. So 189. Comma 087. Okay, there you go. So maybe we'll see, maybe if you guys have any open questions or anything, but yeah, I'll stay on for a little couple minutes for you guys. I do apologize for my face being mangled as it was. If you did join the live stream late, I did have a nice little bicycle accident. I was on a road bike this weekend, and I ran into a pedestrian crossing sign as I was enjoying my morning ride, and my face and body went over the handlebars onto the road and smack dab made it. So I am nice and swollen now, a little bit of bandages, a little bit of blood. It was kind of crazy, but I am okay. No concussion, nothing crazy. But it definitely is swelling and looks a lot worse than it really is. But overall, pain is feeling okay. Also, I introduced to you guys at the beginning the links for my challenge, which is at brianmclogan.com/challenge. So if you are interested in joining my 30-day challenge where I will send you a question each and every day. And Michael, thank you so much for that. That is awesome. I really appreciate your super chat. Ask mine for $5 to thank you for teaching me so much math. Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much. That has made my night and made me smile, which makes me hurt for everything swollen, but I will take it. But I really do appreciate the pain and pain in my face to be able to help you with hopefully some of your pain that, that I'm sure probably math has brought you. So I'm happy that I was able to assist you with that. So if you are interested in joining the 30-day math challenge, the way that will work is I'll send you basically a math problem each and every day for you to go ahead and complete. And then I will give you the correct answer the following day for you to go ahead and check your work. Also, there is a fee math contest for a little bit lower grades than what I am offering because my challenge is only for Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus students. But I am offering another free, there is another math contest, which is free, which I have more details in the description of this live stream as well. So if you guys are interested in that, then please go ahead and take a look at that stuff for you. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I really do appreciate that. I'm in 6th grade, so it makes 0 sense. I can definitely understand that. Some of the questions, I'm not even sure. I don't even know 6th grade. I don't remember 6th grade math. Maybe we would have got some area and diameter. Maybe no. I think that was like 7th or 8th grade. Some linear equations. No, maybe a little. I probably could have done. Here's a perimeter problem. That's kind of a little bit. But yeah, stuff this week was kind of a little bit more advanced. I wasn't even able to complete some of the questions just because they were going to take so many steps and take so long for me to go ahead and complete them. It is pre-calc with limits. I think there is only... 30 questions is not enough, to be honest with you. So I think on my pre-calculus, in the pre-calculus curriculum, I think I have 1 question on limits, that's it. 30 questions, it was actually very difficult to select the questions because I had to decide, easy, hard, I wanted to, it's kind of difficult. I know which questions I'd give my students, but I, just kind of selecting random questions, 30 questions is really not a lot. You can go through those very quickly. So, that is what I had, from there. But yeah, I do have at least 1 question on limits. Remember me, I'm from your class. All right, GS, I'm going to ask you about your Mountain Ash. I'm going to go and ask you about you tomorrow because I got school tomorrow, which I guess you do too, since you're in my class. But I wonder if I have you tomorrow. Well, there you are. Very welcome, Charles. And hey, little Tokyo, Burger King Ragnet. I like that. Polynomials, that's awesome. And find the permanent area of indicated polygon. No, I don't want to do any more math. My brain hurts. Xander check his video on grouping. It explains it very well. Oh, well, thank you very much. Can you please factor higher degree polynomials by grouping? Yes. But you know what? I said I was going to do one more. You were my student. Wow. Okay. What group are those questions for? I'm assuming you're asking for the, Xander, I'm actually going to do your problem, but I'm assuming you're asking for the challenge. I'm going to do this one last problem. 15x squared minus 6ax minus a 20cx plus an 8a or 8c. Okay. The questions are for the challenges for Algebra 2 as well as for Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus. And Emmett, can you help with calculus homework? I can. It's been a couple years since I taught calculus, so not a lot of the questions I have my explanations like on point. So I don't answer quite a bit of calculus questions, but I do have a huge playlist with hundreds of videos from when I taught calculus. If you want to go and check that out, but you can always submit your questions on calculus. The Discord server is also a great resource because there's a lot of really, really smart students that are in there that are willing to help you out. And then also hopefully you guys always are answering questions and helping each other out with that as well. How can I join the 30-day math challenge? Go to brianmclogan.com/challenge, and that will take you right there. All right, let's go ahead and knock this one out. You guys keep on adding me questions for this. All right, I just got to get to Tessa because, hey, Brian, so you helped me with a lot of past videos. I'm homeschool, so I need a teacher somehow for math, so thank you. Well, you are very welcome, Tessa. I'm happy to help you out. Okay, so let's do this last problem. So 15x squared, so we need to factor them out. So basically what we want to do is just factor out your common terms. And when we're factoring by grouping, what you're simply going to do is like just kind of group your first two terms and group your second two terms. Now, sometimes it's kind of confusing, again, looking at subtraction. So what I like to do, again, is I do not like to deal with this as a subtraction. I like to rewrite this as plus a negative. Okay, so instead of subtraction, I like to do this because then what I can do now is I can group the first two and I can group the last two terms. So again, I changed this from a negative to plus and minus. Okay, so a negative equals plus a minus. Not sure if that, don't want to confuse people if they're like looking at the notes later. All right, so in here, basically what I'm going to do now is factor out a common term, which I can see they both share an x as well as a 3. So I can factor out a 3x. By factoring out a 3x, I'm left with a 5x minus a 2a. Now, basically what I want to do is get a 5x minus 2a out of here. So I know if I can factor out a negative 4, and I'm going to want to factor out what do they else have in common? They have a c in common, right? So negative 4c. By factoring out negative 4c, I'm left with a positive 5x. And then this would be a negative 2a. Awesome. So again, the main goal is if you don't get these to be the same, either you did something wrong or it's not factorable by grouping. Okay, so those are your two cases basically. And well, now you can see that these are the same, right? So just like if it was like 3x plus 6x, right? You can factor out the x, or let's, I don't know, use this as like a y or something. Like they both share an x in common, right? So you can factor out the x. Well, now they both just share an expression in common. So you can factor out the expression. So 5x minus 2a times a 3x minus 4c. And that's about as much as we can go through. Good night, Mr. Brown. Where's Mr. Brown? Oh, Hayden Brown. Well, dude, I can explain all through the segment. Oh, you guys. Sorry, guys. I am going to have to run. Hopefully, you guys will join in the challenge. I got school tomorrow. I know many of you have school tomorrow. So best of luck. Hopefully, I look forward to seeing you guys in the 30-day challenge. Again, brianmclogan.com/challenge. It's in the link also. And Fee Math Contest is in the link. The Discord is in the link, as well as my live stream, which I will be live next Sunday night at 9 p.m. to help answer your questions. Go ahead and check out the Google form, which is also in the description. All right, guys, have a great night, and I will see you guys next week. Cheers.